All right, this lesson is on complex fractions. A complex fraction is basically a fraction where both the numerator and the denominator, or both of them, also actually have fractions in them. So if you look at number 1, here's the actual fraction bar. The numerator is a fraction, but the denominator is not. In 2, the numerator is not a fraction, but the denominator is. We can also see complex fractions where both the top and the bottom are both fractions inside the big fraction. What I'm going to do is show you, first of all, in this one, what's actually happening, and then I'm actually going to go back and show you how to type it in with the calculator. Really what this problem is saying, if you remember the fraction bar as representing division, this problem is really saying 1/4 divided by 2 is really what's happening here. So if you kind of think about that, we can't actually divide fractions, so we end up multiplying by the reciprocal. Remember, 2 is just 2 over 1. So really what we're doing here is 1/4 times 1/2, which is 1/8. The other way that we can kind of talk about doing this is to actually cancel out the denominator. And to cancel out the denominator, you want to make it 1. So going back to your multiplicative inverse property, you would multiply by the reciprocal here. So 2 times 1/2 would give you a 1 in the denominator, which is what we need to be able to kind of cancel it out and basically pretend it isn't even there. So what we're going to do is, if we do this on the bottom of the fraction, though, we have to do it on the top so that we keep things even. If you look, we're back to that fact of 1/4 times 1/2, which is really just 1/8, and 1/8 over 1 is just 1/8 then, because anything over 1 is just itself. So really, using either strategy, we're getting back to the idea of the same exact answer anyway. If I look at number 2, the way that I need to type this into my calculator is to actually type in 1 divided by 1/2, or I can actually type this in as 1 fraction, and then the fraction part in either the numerator or the denominator has to be put into parentheses. So you would actually do 1 fraction bar, parentheses, 1 fraction 2. If you didn't have the parentheses there, your calculator really just thinks that you typed in 1.5, because that's kind of how it reads mixed numbers. So if you do this one, type this into your calculator, either way, you're going to end up with 2 for your answer. Take a second. I'm going to have you pause the video, try typing in A, B, C, and D. Use either of the 2 strategies that I showed you in number 2 up here, and then come back and check your answers. So these are the 4 answers here. 2 divided by 2/3, 6 divided by 1/3, 2/3 divided by 7, and 2/4 divided by 2. We can take the same strategy and we can actually change percentages into complex fractions like this too. So for example, on Javier's soccer team, about 33 1/3% of the players have scored a goal. Write this as a fraction. Biggest thing you need to remember here is percents are comparing numbers to 100. So what you need to do is take your percent, drop the percent sign, and put it over 100. In the case here, I'm going to definitely recommend that you type this in as 33 fraction 1 fraction 3. So that represents the 33 1/3 divided by 100. And when you actually type that into your calculator, you get 1/3 for your answer. And this one, a county sales tax is 6 2/3%. Take 6 2/3, drop the percent. Since it was a percent, it compares it to 100. Again, I'm going to recommend that you type this in as 6 2/3 divided by 100, and you are going to get 1/15 as the simplified fraction here. Last little bit along with this lesson is complex fractions in unit rates. Complex fractions have different units here. We need our denominator of 1. So it's still basically finding a unit rate. We're still going to be dividing to get that denominator of 1. The only thing is it's going to have fractions in it now. So Josiah can jog 1 1/3 miles in 1/4 of an hour. Find his average speed in miles per hour. Again, that sets it up for us. So 1 1/3 miles in 1/4 hours. So you're going to type in 1 1/3 into your calculator, divided by 1/4. 1/4. So I'll show you what that looks like on the calculator screen here. 1 1/3 divided by 1/4. Go ahead, hit equals, and you get 5 1/3. So he's going to be able to go 5 1/3 miles per hour while he's jogging. The next one, Tia's painting her house. She paints 34.5 square feet in 3/4 of an hour. At this rate, how many square feet can she paint each hour? So 34.5 square feet divided by 3/4 of an hour. So you're going to type in 34 1/2 divided by 3/4. I'll show you what that looks like. 34 1/2 divided by 3/4. And that means Tia can paint 46 square feet per hour. The next two, I'm going to have you actually pause the video, give them a try by yourself, and then come back. Alright, so there's Mr. Ito. He is 2 1/3 square yards per hour, and Aubrey's speed turns out to be 3 miles per hour.